Good morning, everybody. So, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Debate Club. This is a platform where we engage in healthy debates and discussions every week and celebrate disagreements with mutual respect every day. Now, the topic in hand is sex education must be included in school curriculum uh, uh, for a better uh, result. So, the argument that are made for this statement is that if the sexual education is included in the school curricula, then this will educate our students to raise a better level of awareness and safety in their sexual lives throughout their whole livelihood. Now, the people also argue that it will help in breaking the taboos that exist in our society and it will foster openness. Uh, Additionally, it will also provide empowerment both to children and women of our nation, and it will also align with the global best practices about the comprehensive sex education. Whereas the argument that is against the notion is that the cultural sensitivity in India's diverse and conservative social fabric might resist sex education that could lead to backlash in the society. Additionally, the age appropriateness of sex education also raises several concerns, especially in the minds of the parents. Additionally, the teacher that will be providing those education are not trained enough, and this lack of trained educators could lead to misinformation or awkward delivery of information, which I'm sure many of us have experienced in our lives. The last point is the parental opposition that both the schools and the governing bodies face uh, to conduct these kind of sessions. Now, with that context in mind, all arguments are invited to add upon the intellectual base. People who wish to speak use the reaction button to raise hands, and on a first come, first serve basis, I'll allow you guys to speak one after another. Yeah, so people who wish to speak can just find the raise hand button at the bottom right of your screen, and uh, there you'll find the raise hand in within the reaction sections. Yeah, Vivek, please go ahead.
Yeah, so no one is raising their hand, so I just raised it. I have not prepared for this topic. I'll just say what I feel. I'm thinking on the feet actually. Yeah, so uh, sex education is very important, right? I'm still a bachelor, I'm not married, so I cannot speak from experience, but I can speak from what I've read and understood. But I'm in a doubt, right? Like at which age we should start this, the sex education in the school? What would be the right age to start and educate kids? Like I know there will be a subject in biology regarding reproduction, and we are the teachers are always teachers, all the students doesn't talk openly, right? In that, if the student is asking some question, the teacher will try to dodge it and not answer it properly. So I think we should expose our kids, right, or adolescents, and obviously it is about biology, right? All that feelings will automatically come because it is biology which is not in our hand. So we have to tame it properly and give them proper education, what is right, what is wrong. And it should be a mandatory even for kids, also for adults. I think most of the adults are also not so much aware of, right? If I can say it openly. So all of us should learn actually. Yeah, kids for sure, but all of us should learn what is the right way. For example, uh, once we get married, we are not happy, right, in our marriage, right? The main reason is mostly sexual only. So yeah, for now that's it. That's my thoughts. Maybe I will speak again.
Yeah, so is that all?
Yeah, my call is it should be compulsory. It is a mandatory. There
Okay.
should be a separate subject, separate class if possible for the kids for sexual education.
Okay. So first to the part that no one raised their hand, I guess there is an awkward delivery situation here as well, like the schools. Yeah, anyone who wish to go next can raise their hands. Yes, Keshav.
So, according to me, we, the more we make this sex education a taboo, the more children or people around the teenage will try to find it by themselves uh, or by the means which are not actually the correct one. So, I also experience in my class 10th that I don't know, it's on 9th or 10th, 10th maybe. So teacher teacher actually told us about the things which happens, and uh, it's not always in many schools, and many people are changing and getting a modern mindset. So it's a good thing that it's not that taboo anymore, but teaching the children at the early ages, starting teaching them sometime, as you know, that some girls, boys hit puberty earlier than others. In my case, I got this puberty very late, so I was lucky enough to see around people who are getting experience, uh, in the base of voice is increased, or they are getting mustaches, beards. So I was lucky enough to understand and see other people and get their experiences. But those who are like the first one seeing their changes in their body are the most confused one, and they look for the reason for which it is happening. And the most common reason, the most common way is to chat around with friends or some closed ones which are not parents always. So they uh, get to most of the time they get wrong understanding or ideas. So it's better to teach them from the early ages, not all, in stages, like as we uh, study the periodic table. First we study elements, right? So from the basic ABCD, then to increase and to get the more advanced as the child is growing. So if teacher or surrounding are more helpful than others, then children may not be feel it like a shameful thing, and they can understand it with the help of the people who are having experience, and those who know what a teenage feels in that stage. So sex education should start from early ages, and it should be talked openly at least if the groups of children not make it shameful or make it a big deal, then children will able to convey their thoughts. And definitely if our school was lucky to have a psychologist and a nurse, so we could ask her doubts whatever we have. So if schools have this opportunity to have some counseling sessions for children of around teenage, then it would be helpful.
Yeah, so I personally relate to you, Keshav, a lot, and I agree with you on most of the points as well. Because you really pointed out great points like how if it is a taboo, then they'll try to find itself, and a lot of there's a lot of misinformation on the internet. Plus, I also really like that you did not only focus on sex education as a population change or the sexual practices, but also the psychological changes and the physical changes that uh, people kind of experience, and how there was actually a great practice of building a system around it, not just teaching what are contraceptives and their effects, but building a system around it by having psychologists and nurses in your school for counseling. Yeah, Suryansh. Suryansh.
Hey, Prince, you can finish your point. I'll go after you. You can speak.
No, no, no. I was just commenting on what he said. I have no additional points to make.
Got it. Got it. So I'll share my thoughts here. So first of all, when we say sex education, right, just to map out the scope that we're looking at, right? The scope, I think Keshav brought in the point of psychological, it's just not physical, but also psychological, emotional, you know. So first, I personally feel that sex education, one of the questions which was raised is, I think it's not about whether we should be having sex education in school, but probably at what time should we be educating kids about sex education. Because if you think about it, typical people person who passes out from 12th standard is at 17 years of age, 17 or 18 years of age, right? And 18 years is when you become an adult. So, at least legally speaking, right? So naturally, sex education has to be, and that is a window in which people are in, the kids are in school, which in which the sex education has to be given. I think one of the right times to start doing it would definitely be from probably the time when, even girls start their cycles, right? The menstruation cycle, which probably hits around 11 years, 12 years, right? That can be it, but just to come into the scope of it, uh, that is where the changes in body, changes in even voice, changes in, you know changes in probably the feelings that kids are having, all of these things will happen. So that is important, and that goes hand in hand with subjects that are already there in school, especially sciences, biology. I don't feel there is a necessity of adding a new subject with sex education, right? It should be more, I guess. It can be in a form of workshop, it can be form of informal sources, be it media, even there can be movies that can be shown, right? Once in 2 months. There can be different kinds of engagements which can happen, even between peer groups. There can be group discussions and what they feel, and the only thing is the person who's facilitating needs to have that understanding, right? So again, coming back to the question of sex education, in my opinion, it spans. Of course, one is the human development from a body point of view, puberty, anatomy, how our reproductive health, what does it mean? Having the right kind of, what does it also mean with respect to, like sexually transmitted diseases, contraception, Prince, that you mentioned, and what are the safe practices? It also, I think, encompasses the sexual orientation that people may have, and also the entire concept of consent, which is extremely important, which kids maybe they'll not have naturally. but it's something that has to be, because it's very culturally ingrained. So this is something which I feel should be part of the spectrum of sex education. And of course, then comes the cultural norms that and the legal frameworks in a way where we live, where the age of consent can be 16, somewhere it can be 18, it can be higher. And even if you compare it to, let's say, schools in USA, they're culturally, I would say, it's like much more sexually open. There are even, schools which give out contraceptions at school. And that is something that I personally can't imagine having in India, because we are in a place right now where if a boy and a girl in school are holding hands, then it can cause issues in school. So naturally, it's a huge culture shift. But uh, we'll have to, if we are kind of speaking about India per se, because other countries naturally have evolved sex education to some levels which where we don't have in our country right now. So you'll have to take gradual steps. But recalling my own experience in school, we never had any sexual education. At least boys didn't have. There used to be 1 2 sessions that girls had, and it was pretty much sex education most, at least 10 20 years back when I was in school, when majority of this was learned via be it porn, be it some other sources, right? And that is not the best way of learning, because kids are naturally curious. Just by not telling them or brushing up past things doesn't mean that they will not want to figure it out. And doing it, like knowing about it from the right sources is much more important than kind of neglecting as if it's something taboo. So that definitely needs to come out, and this definitely needs to change. uh, so that is what I feel. So just want to leave the group with few thoughts which I think is important, rather than whether we should be bringing it. I think it's about when and what would be the modality of bringing sex education. That those should be the more important questions to discuss.
Yeah, great points, Suryansh. And I kind of related with you when you said that, of course, boys usually don't get sexual education sessions or counseling sessions around it. I mean, our female friends used to get them, and we were told that in those sex education sessions, they were told to not have sex and sex is evil. So that is the level of sexual education that we have. Also, additionally, just to clarify, Suryansh, when you speak of there should be a sexual education and when should it be implemented, then are you referring to the teaching of, let's say, safe sex practices, STDs, human anatomy, or reproductive systems, or you are referring to the dialogue that kind of surrounds it?
So what I was meaning is, see, if you think about it, I was a science student, even though I had not taken biology in 11th and 12th, right? So till 10th standard, I have read, at least as part of CBSE curriculum, we did have sexually transmitted diseases as part of biology, right? So that was there, correct. I think at one level where I was saying, because biology definitely has parts, but even I remember, so I was, a lot of my schooling was in Kendriya Vidyalaya, and there the teachers, it wasn't very open. The culture wasn't very open to kind of have that dialogue, which of course would have been different from, let's say, somebody from convent, right? But what I was kind of saying was, see, there are some things which are going to be part of your curriculum, and even teaching that properly is also something that, because a lot of sexually transmitted diseases, we just used to um, probably know the names of it, and we'll put it out in exams without knowing it, understanding it. And maybe after a point, you can't be like it's very I'm not sure how to put it, but it's very cultural. For example, this, even a lot of the things come from parents also, right? Parents also should have that discussion. One is the school, but one is where the parents are proactively having those conversations with their kids. And it is an awkward thing, and I don't think it is awkward because culturally it's bad, we haven't evolved properly enough, because there will definitely be that boundary. But how can you do it in the right manner is something that is important. But there are some things which are not even part of the curriculum. I was kind of talking about those things also, because for example, if you think about because girls might not feel because they'll be really confused with what's happening, right? When the first time they have a period, right? And they might be ashamed, and there are so many taboos and stuff. So definitely, rather than feeling ashamed and physically exhausted and a lot of other things that this kind of brings about, educating girls, women is definitely more important, I feel. But equally, that the time when biologically girls are already seeing, most of the time boys aren't aware about it, they are not empathetic about what's happening. So I think those things, even though you'll read in biology whatever, but it's not practical. It's ki how does it really like have developing that empathy for the other sex also, right? That also, in my opinion, is part of the larger ambit of sex education, is something that I was referring to, Prince.
Okay. So, of course, great points and great understanding of the whole idea of sex education, not just seeing it through the anatomical lens, but the comprehensive area. But to play the devil's advocate, now what the con side says is that the realm of sex education would not be value neutral, as in the political party that's in power or the religion that dictates the uh, state will kind of have a say. Let's say the sex education is in USA while the right wingers are in power, then there would be more emphasis on abstinence rather than the contraceptive things, and we are seeing material we are seeing the material inception of that as well, because recently funny you speak about NCRT, then CBSE, but recently NCRT has said to change their curricula to kind of use abstinence more and instead of contraceptions. As in, the contraceptive methods would not get that huge of a weightage that they used to get, and a greater weightage would be given to being abstinent. So, just food for thought. I guess another dimension for people to think and debate about. Yeah, anyone who wishes to speak can raise their hands. Yeah, Vivek.
Yeah, so uh, I'd like to take some actionable steps, okay, out of this. So my nephew, my sister's son, is 14 years old now, but I've never spoken to him about sex, right? Because I am only hesitant to speak, and I don't know where to start from, right? So we are discussing a lot of things, but I would like, if it is of use, right, it would be of great help. So if someone can guide me where to start, how to talk to him regarding sex, that would be great.
Great question, Vivek. In fact, when you said, I also was reflecting. I have a cousin, younger cousin, very young cousin, who is uh, going to who has turned 13, right? So he's similar age. He's a boy. So even I haven't had that conversation, and I'm going to meet him 2 weeks later. So just reflecting on what you asked, I was just my thought, because I don't have kids myself, so I don't know. Um, so I feel that it all begins by, first of all, uh, having a dialogue, right? And having a very open-ended uh, dialogue where the main question is, it should not be like prescriptive, because to the point that Prince also made, that if the sex education is one part that we're saying, but if the ambit of sex education will vary depending upon the political party, then first of all, we should also be discussing what is the right quality of sex education, rather than that the subject of sex education or the name we are saying anything to the kids. So that is where it becomes much more subjective, and even it can go on the other side also. Some bad folks can take it, and kind of under the name of giving sex education, might, it can turn bad either ways, right? So if I would approach it to kind of discuss this with somebody who's young, somebody who's in 12 to 14 years age, I'll start off, and I am not sure I'll be comfortable having that conversation, let's say with with a girl. I will not be personally. So with my younger cousin, I want to approach it with kind of having a casual talk um, about who do you like, let's say, do you like somebody in your class, and because that kind of, at least the family in which I grew up in, we never were that open as a family, because I know a couple of my friends who had family where they used to discuss their dates with their parents and all that, and so that's a very family driven, cultural driven thing. But I think that those conversations, just to rather than it coming ki, "Oh, okay, I know everything, I'm going to teach you," it should not be approached from that, and just having that conversation and letting the kid ask questions, and then you answering it in the best possible manner, without, because there is a lot of curiosity, right? Like, even things on, if you just think about it, like just sex, right? Kids in general are very curious, but as a human, it and there's a lot of pressure now, these days, I think, that used to be there in US for sure, regarding losing your virginity in prom, for example, right? And that has come down to India also, I feel, by westernization, or it will be, it's very complex thing, I'm just not saying just come because of that, but that has come in, and it is very scary, because one is that, and telling that, okay, this is how it works, but without having that mental maturity, and then indulging in sexual activity without knowing the repercussions, right? And think, because you actually can't think it through biologically, your brain isn't developed till that level. So I think it should be more open ended, just to summarize, and uh, kind of understanding where the kid is coming from, because the kid, 12 years, 14 years, someone can be like really kiddish, and someone can be really wise, or mature for their age, and that is where to navigate from, and kind of being, and in fact, like, I feel, kind of expressing to them that you're there in case they want you at any point, that being the central force, because uh, the level you can directly express something, a sensitive topic like this, it's not like you can openly say, okay, these are the 5 things I want to tell you about, right? I don't think it will work that way, but being that person with whom the kid can discuss is something that I feel is going to be very important. But what are your thoughts? Just for sharing my opinion.
Yeah, it's very complicated, right? So where to start from, as you said, right? Whom do you like? I can start from something like that. Like if you like some girl, obviously, right? If they are adolescent, they will obviously like someone, right? They will not tell it openly, but it is obvious. We all know that, right? So I can start with that, and then yeah, means I'm hesitant. I speak about everything, but not about this, right? So as you were also telling, you have also not spoken about it with your cousin. I think we need to practice actually. If we speak with our nephew later on, we can speak with our kids also, right? It is just a practice. Practice in the sense like uh, it will be there in our subconscious, right? If you do something repeatedly, and the next time when we talk to other people, we will be more confident to speak about it. Yeah, that's where I'll start with whom do you like, or are you attracted to someone? And also like the dating culture in India, right? So even if they like someone, they will not go and approach and talk to them openly, right? As you said in the school, if you hold hand with a girl also, it is seen in a different manner, right? So that is another thing, another angle. For example, the only source, even if they like someone and even if they are sexually active, the only source, or they can find something on the internet, watch it, right? And be satisfied with that. Instead of that, I think we should encourage kids to also speak openly with girls, right? Go and talk to girls just in a friendly manner, right? Talk to girls, mingle with girls, and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Prince, go on. You haven't spoken.
Yeah. So I was listening to all of the dialogue, and what uh, what I concluded was that at the end it's all just about open-ended discussion. Normalization of sex as a topic of discussion, as we are doing in through these debate club sessions as well. And this is really important because I recently stumbled upon this data that NFHS 4 had given, and according to them, only 25% women and 36% men aged between 15 to 24. And I'll put an emphasis on this, 15 to 24 had received any information about sex education. And what this amounts to is younger people between 15 to 24 accounting for over 33% of new HIV infections. Or a majority of children in India have been experienced sexual abuse in one form or another. I mean, these at least we can, of course, ideally we would like to have an ambit of comprehensive sexual education, but at least uh, this is the need of the hour to at least have enough sexual education that we don't have this data of an NFHS 5 that 6.8% of women who are between the ages of 15 to 19 have begun childbearing between 2019 to 2021. That is like as early as 3 years ago. And if we are having 1 in 12 women between the ages of 15 to 19 getting pregnant, that is a serious health concern for the whole of nation. Yeah, I'll just leave you guys on this thinking point, and you guys can add on.
Yeah, it's so sad, right? It's so sad. I think it's not happening within our family. I don't know anyone, right, within our family or within my surroundings who have gone through the similar situation. So it should start personally, right? As I said with my nephew, right? We should start the education from our home because that is what we can control, right? Or within our friends or family circle. Yeah, and then maybe like as I always want to like be more practical, right? I know we are debating about all this, but if you can help someone, right, like my nephew or your any of your friends or relatives, right, that would be great actually.
I wanted to bring about one point connected to what Prince said. So I just want to understand what you guys think. What is the right age of, let's say, engaging in sexual intercourse, right? And that will vary from country to country. But I just feel that um, even if, let's say, and why I'm saying this is because the level of maturity and difficult to kind of quantify it. So I'll just express what I think and feel about this. The level of maturity that, let's say, an Indian kid has at 16 versus a kid in USA, for example, has at 16, I think is different. Both from a point of view of Indian parents tend to kind of spoon feed a lot of things, and the kids don't have that experience. It is a broader generalization. I will not say, of course, it will apply to everybody, but um, at similar like to like age, I feel that India has a long way to go, because one part of it is, let's say, you give sexual education to kids from 13, 14 years of how all of this is this works, and so that they are understanding. But that doesn't mean that just by having that education that they really understand. One is that you run a workshop, and let's see if somebody was part of it, and we can even within the percentage, Prince, that you mentioned, 15 to 24, right? Naturally, somebody would have been less than 18. The percentage would have been even higher. And I'm going forward to say that even people who got the education in the sense of, let's say, workshop, anything, were they actually mature enough to really understand that? Um, and that is where I'm coming from. And that we'll have to go even deeper than that of how can we really make something practically useful in their understanding. Otherwise, it's just going to be very theoretical exercise, having another thing for school and just making them realize this. But how do you kind of, one is that you give them knowledge, but how can you make them understand?
Yeah, anyone who wishes to speak can, I guess, raise their hands or turn on your mics and speak. Just don't interrupt each other. Because Suryansh has pointed out a great talking point, and I would also like to listen to everybody's opinion on that.
I think everyone have the same question. What Suryansh have, right? So we just need to discuss, brainstorm, and try to find some actionable steps. But I like the point what Suryansh mentioned, right? To begin with, if you like someone in the school, something like that, right? I like that, and I'll try that. I'll definitely try that with my nephew. Yeah.
Yeah, like I had just now
Hari,
joined.
if you
Yeah,
if you don't mind, Keshav is waiting. Can I let him answer? You can raise your hand and I'll let you.
okay.
Keshav, please.
Yes, yes. So actually, I was thinking that is it like for 18 and 21 age for like marriage laws or legal age of consent? Is it 18 or 21? Uh,
Age of consent is 18. Age of marriage
okay,
is, I think, is it 18, 21? That I'm not sure.
That is 21
okay.
or
So
24, depending upon whether you are male or female.
okay. So uh, that's what you were asking, right? That in the right age of having an intercourse. So actually, it's as you already said that we are. I am talking about my experience. Like we are, I was spoon fed from childhood, and still now, like my parents are conservative and like every time want to do the best for me, and I am the one who is having the least responsibility. So there are people like me around this age. So I think the correct age is definitely it would vary, but those who are getting the maturity as you mentioned, and if you are having the right knowledge of it, or because I have seen people talking about my parents even. My mother and father got married around 18, 17, 18 age, and they got the that conscious that maturity after their marriage, and most of the parents have done like before our age. Our most of the parents are like this only. So then they figure out that what had happened to them, and like now they are bearing two children also. So then they started growing, and I don't think that this is the right way, because some of the people, when they are not getting, like they are under informated, or they are not having the knowledge what's what's going to happen after they become a parent, then the scenario changes completely, because now you have to do the parenting thing, and you should be, first of all, like there are some people that they can't even care about themselves. How would they care about their children, right? And then those children uh, like go through traumas, or the lack of empathy. Most of these personality disorders come through, I think, these things. So these are all of this is related, and somehow I think so. Yes, this is my point. What do you think?
Yeah, great points, Keshav. And I guess the same issues also arise in the case of teenage pregnancies. Yeah, let Hari go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good morning to all. Like, yeah, I have just joined, so I not aware of any other points that were mentioned. Okay. So what I see, like, sex education to be included in a school, yes, I would say yes, it should be. Because in particular, I would say in our Indian education system, I would say that yes, we must need something to be added. We must educate like our society, the school children, everybody, like after a age, like it should not be included in very earlier stage of their career. Like it is just above at the age right time that they can understand those things what the people are mentioning. Like I would say after a grade 8, if you are including those things in a system or something like that, it will be much efficient, I would say. because in during that time they could understand something, they can get a gist of it, and later they can step by step learn on it. Why, like, basically why we need to like include this one, like this sex education to the children, is that I would say, like, people are not getting together each other, like they don't know what they are caring about. And in our society we are all going towards like so private and so alone kind of life, everyone. And we are not friendly with each other. So like, if you are let's say for example, if you want to go, if you want to say hi to a nearby girl who is sitting by for a boys, or a nearby a boy like for a girl, it is so awkward and so like there is there is some kind of things that we are so separated to each other. We don't even say good morning or good afternoon, good evening, or how are you doing to a nearby person. We will be speaking to some other else. Like we are so like comfortable with online rather than a real world to a nearby person. You should be like, we should, how our society should be is that we should be more giving prioritize to the person that is being around us, right? So we should not like focus on somebody in some other like other side of the world, or that's not uh, you will feel that at that moment you will feel that okay, it is going well or something. Whenever you are like treating the people around you well, and you are going getting together very well, okay, you will be also, there is a higher possibility that you will become a like successful, or you will be having a steady path towards your achieving your goal or vision. It will be helpful for how to like collaborate with people and going with like rather than you are thinking awkward that like let's say for example, pornography is one of the like serious matter in our society. So, and we should not take it lightly or something like that. This will leads to like a spoiled society or spoiled kind of generation, yeah, I would say. Because in that particular topic we are losing our energy in that sense, and we are not even getting together with our society. So I would say yes, we have to include sex education. And like it is not the that is not only the life, there is something else. We have much more thing in our life, but it should be educated, so we will not have like, we will be not too focused on something that we don't want, or we are not prioritizing it to the top level or something like that. That's what I want to mention.
Okay, great points, Hari. And I guess you also pointed out, and it was Suryansh who said this, that what we could do is in the early ages of teaching in regard of sexual education, we can teach them other dimensions of sexual education, like how to talk to girls or how to be respectful to both men and women. We can carry out sensitization exercises, like about periods. I truly believe that not only women but men should also be aware of the the problems that comes with the whole period cycle, how those hormonal changes affect women, and this could both help them in their professional careers, make them better leaders, as well as sensitize them to the issues of women, and the same can be done for the issues of men as well. Yeah, I guess Sanya raised hand. I can't see it as of now. So Sanya, if you wish to speak, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add what Suryansh was saying before about what should be the like actual age where like people should start having sex, or like they should even begin having sex. I think that the age should be around after 18, like matlab, like in India, like there is a lot of stigma, and like he said that we are spoon fed like during school, and it is also a pretty closed environment in school, so we don't really get to explore or um, get to that point where we could go out with someone and just even start dating. And even with our parents and the society, it is really difficult for us. So Yeah, so the it is really different from like our society is like really different from like the one is there in USA, like he said. And yeah, obviously they're more emotionally mature than us. And around college, when we reach that level, we like try to go out and then we try to explore like other gender a lot better. And I think that it is also important that we get to understand and we get the knowledge of what like what the whole process or what sex is all about, and it should be done in school itself. So we don't get any wrong ideas like we do get in other forms like porn or magazines or comics. We get a really vague and different idea over there. So um, it's also really important that we get the all the knowledge and the education beforehand so we can make informed decisions and like about what kind of partner to choose and what kind of um, contraceptives to use. Because even with contraceptives, it becomes really important to understand like how they really work. Because I remember that there was this case where a 16-year-old girl, she took birth control pills as emergency pills, and that caused a pregnancy. So it is also important that how do you use these contraceptives, and to what extent do you know about them. So I think you also get a sort of emotional maturity when you like turn 18, like matlab after 18. And I think that should be the way everywhere, even in US, because we know how much teenage pregnancies and all these um, situations occur over there. So I guess that's it.
Yeah, great points. I'll give Suryansh a right to reply. Just wait for a minute, if we can even call it that. So, according to me, the only three criteria to have sex is legally 18, biologically maybe 13 to 15 whenever you hit your puberty, and culturally after marriage. Now, additionally, one point that Sanya rightly pointed out is the application of the theory. Like we all are told what a condom is or what these contraceptive pills are, but how many of us actually know how to use it, when to use it, what quantity or what quantity or time should those contraceptives be used, and what are its side effects and things like that. So that's a great point that theory as well as application uh, should be the priority. And I could see a person named A in the comment sections. If you can speak up and mute your mic, then it would be great so that we can also understand what you're trying to say, and it will help you communicate your points better so that uh, we all can understand if it's viable for you.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, yeah, so a bit of a context like why I muted it in the first place, and I wasn't. I'm sorry if I'm taking a lot of time. Okay, I'll keep it quick. The first point I mentioned was that when people, they have these fantasies about people who are far away. Let's say they have some imaginary girlfriend, imaginary boyfriend who is living in a different city, in a different country, and for that, they ignore the people who are nearby, right? Like someone said, right? If there is someone just sitting right next to you in a cafe, you won't talk, but you would think the fantasy is for someone who is like very far away from you. That is called avoidant behavior, and India as a society actually encourages it. like I think Sanya or someone said, right? That we are less focused on whoever. I'm not exactly remembering who said that, but yeah. So that is psychologically avoidance behavior, and we as a society we kind of encourage it. So that is like a self-sustaining, negative cycle. And then the other point was in the context of like someone was mentioning, right? Uh, People don't know how to talk to the other gender and all. So I know, sorry, it was about like people in US are different from people in India, or the mindset over there is different from mindset over here. I wanted to call out that it, that mindset also has a root, also has a reason why it is that way. It's also about abundance versus scarcity. There is abundance, so people are more mature, people are more patient. Here there is scarcity, people have less patience. People, I'm not sure if I'm able to express it in words. uh, yeah, now since we are running out of time, I'll like stop speaking now and give the moderator or others such.
We have ample of time, but you can speak again. And really great points. It really opens up great dimensions on the topic. Yeah, if anyone wants to speak, they can just raise their hand in the reaction button. Yeah, Suryansh, I'll give you your right to reply. Yeah, sure, you can take a couple of minutes. Uh, in the meantime, since no one is raising their hand, I guess you can complete your points.
Okay, yeah, so to complete the second point, actually it's my so that is one reason I was a little wary of you know speaking up. This is the first time I am dialing into a Zoom here in Bangalore. One thing I have been struggling with is I am very new to the city. I don't know many people here, and whenever I look up some place in maps and I go there, those places are either so much congested, or they are like there are so many lakes here. I was very excited. I looked at maps, and I went to so many lakes, but on near those lakes there is no place to sit, and it's all dirty and everything. So this one thing, this is something I realized, that while there are a lot of people, we can say that okay, I'm here with Indians, so there will be a lot of friends over here, but I am struggling here because people who have a well set life already, they they are doing their stuff, but there are very less avenues for people to just meet and go and explore places. Whereas in US it was uh, like you can just show up at so many meetups, and then people are doing, they are visiting museums, they are visiting a lot of cool places. And if not just like this thing, the discussion which we are having on Zoom, a lot of times we have it in person. But here I understand that things are very hard to do because of first of all their cultural norms, and then people have their own imposed mental barriers. Yeah, so that is something I'm struggling with. If someone has any suggestions, please let me know, and then someone else can speak now.
Yeah, I guess Suryansh has said that, and you can just, even though it's not the objective of the debate club, but you can just join the WhatsApp channel, and there are enough people from Bangalore, all intellectual classes, and you can, I guess, join
Do
in the
we?
conversation. Uh, we have not had a offline meetup yet, but we are planning on having one. Yeah,
Okay, great.
I'll let Keshav go ahead.
So I would just point out that A was saying about the cultural differences from India and America. So I was checking that, like I knew it, but I was just checking for the facts that pornography is legal in, for like adult industries are legal in America, and talking out India, it's not illegal to watch pornography, but its production and all this is prohibited under the law. So even though India is the first or second largest in population, I think, right? First largest or second? Can anybody tell?
We top the list.
We top the
In
list, right?
either of that,
So,
yeah. And India is
so
also a
is
very
it?
young country. Sorry to interrupt. India is very young country. We got independence in 1947, right? But America got independence in 15 or something, 1500s, right? So we are a very young
17,
country. We'll improve.
1776.
Yeah, 1776. So we'll improve, right? We are a very young country. I think we are doing very good. I think we are talking negatives, like not so good things about Indian culture. But I think we are doing very good because they're all like Americans are all the spoiled brats, right? If I have to tell
Yes,
it
yes.
openly. Yeah.
I'll just
So
Like,
let's not digress and yeah, Keshav, go ahead.
yes, I was not like pointing out that India is like away from uh, like this developed country. I was just finding the relation between how this pornography is affecting, because again, the sex education for children, they are, whenever they get a mobile, actually I remember incident. My cousin is in 10 years old and around 5 or 6. She is in 5 or 6. So her habit is, while eating, she scrolls the shorts on YouTube. And some shots are way more fun than others, right? Sometimes, like, if you see a adventure in a pool or some amusement parks, then they search for those more kind of videos because they have never experienced it. So the same thing is happening with the this other side, where people are small children are finding these things interesting, and then it is leading to a loop where they started hiding what are they searching, and they search it for themselves. And even though YouTube Kids is there, but still parental guidance are required. But talking about this pornography legality and some strict laws in India with versus the other states and the population ratios, is there any similarity, or is it affecting the whole scenario in this sex education?
Yeah,
That's my
so
question.
pornography, yeah. So pornography and sexual education is, according to me, just the contrary to each other. I'll just add that whoever wishes to speak, let's not interrupt each other. We'll have an unmoderated session for that. You can just raise your hand, and it is an open for all portal, so anyone can talk. Yeah, so
So bunch of things. So I was not there for a while. Someone was at the door, so I might have missed few points. But so one point that Prince you mentioned, the three things required, or I was not sure of your stance exactly. One being greater than 18 or 12 to 18, and third being like married, right? So I differ from that stance, and I'm not clear exactly the stance that you made. You can clarify after I go. But I don't think that should be the case. There should not be any prescriptive thing on this. I think it's more about emotional maturity. If somebody is not emotionally mature, even after they are 25 or 26 or 22, then they should not be having it. And if you are emotionally mature, even at 50, if 16 is the age of consent, right? So even at 16, you should be. So that is where my stance lies, and same stance lies even before marriage, also, right? That was one quick thing. Other things I want to mention is this issue with pornography, right? So India has banned pornography, I think, since last few years. Even the US doesn't ban it, but I think it is human nature, right? Um, if and so if you look back in history of a lot of wars that were waged, of course, wars were waged because of either for money or for land or for army or for resources, and one of the things also said is because of women, right? Like, it's sad, but it's true. And the kind of things that a 12-year-old or 13-year-old boy has access to online, in 15th century, kings who are waging wars for this reason is not have was not having access to, and our brains haven't been wired for this, right? And that is like the downside of internet in a way. And I feel that banning pornography is something which is not going to give any result, because it's like it's the cat is out of the Pandora box, right? You can't put it back in. uh, it is about how can you uh, live with this, at the same time educate the kids, because that is where and one of the great points somebody had mentioned, that what happens in porn is not how it happens in reality. And that is something that kids and especially boys don't understand, because if you even if you look at the history of, percentage of uh, gender wise percentage of people who watch porn, and there's nothing that women aren't sexual, but visual versus if you plot a graph between uh, visual porn consumption versus, let's say, reading, in that there will be a gender wise skew there, right? So I think how can we manage the because if the only sex education the people are learning, and it cannot be that and it's that is sadly gotten normalized, and it's bad for everybody, right? Because and I do believe a bit of, Freudian psychology, in the sense the potence of sex in general and the sexual desire. But so which is why I'm not like all porn is bad by default from a moral standpoint. That is not where I kind of uh, believe in. But the way it is portrayed in porn is definitely very very wrong, and the kind of wiring that it can set a boy's brain into is devastating, and that is how, like, practically it should be solved that way rather than just banning, pure ban, because people will find ways of accessing that. One last point before I'll wait for other people to hear, is I want to, we can touch upon it later on after probably other points, is, how do you bring about the point of, I don't know how, whether to teach it or to make people aware about it, about evolutionary psychology or evolutionary biology, right? Because it is in a way important, because if people don't understand uh, the secular way, or the right way, in a way, then it leads to, the propagation of, if you'll see, like 2023's most popular guy on internet was Andrew Tate, and the things that he used to speak about, right? That was thanks to sex education in a very larger spectrum, not, not being taught properly and people not understanding it. So that is where I want to end. But yeah, happy to hear other thoughts.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that is in question is why is there a need of porn? If it's for self-pleasure, then everyone to its own. And but I do know of people who at least once in their lifetime watched porn just for the sake of education because they were not aware of how things work and stuff like that. And I guess that's where this whole sex education thing could come in by providing them the right information. Yeah, I'll let Hari go ahead.
Okay. So, like, as far as I see, like, there are more comparisons with India and US. I can see the conversation. So, like, I would say basically, like, comparing India and US is like, I would say it is too ridiculous and it is too, like, uh, I would say something like that. Because India has a traditional way, like, we have a backstory or a history that goes back to 10,000 years at least. Okay. So, we will be having such a we have a conservative or traditional mindset in the sense if you are speaking about how the culture in US to a nearby, let's say for example you are a generation back people, they won't understand because one, either they might be illiterate or they will not understand, they will be a conservative or a traditional mindset. This is how things should be. This if this is if this goes in this way, then only your life will be like good. They will try to like make your path narrower and make you like follow in a way, in a sense that they will make you understand that this is how the life should be, then only you will be like you will be good in life. Let's say for example, they will always for a a person who in during that time they will be mentioning that an arranged marriage would be a very better option for you rather than going with a love marriage or something like that. Because in an arranged marriage what they will do is that they will be comparing their they will be like seeing a right partner or like a right family to how this family looks and their balanced, how their income, how their mindset. is this compatible or not? Those kind of things they will analyze, and okay, this if they are if these two person are getting together, then their life will be a better one. So in that case, most of the arranged marriage in India like are going like smoother in most of the cases, and we have a very low divorce rate comparatively to the US. Okay. And also US, when you say US, US don't, I would say like it it is a place where all the cultures come into a existence, rather than there is no a traditional or there is no a particular like a culture that exists there. You can see a Chinese culture over there, you can see an Italian one, you can see a German one, and you can see a English or like Spanish, whatever. Okay. You can see all the cultures to come together in a place, and you cannot put them in a side by side plate. Okay. So that's one point. Then also they they are comparatively, the country is new and the people, their mindset, everything is new, and they wanted to, the country is like US is a country that always on a war. Okay. You cannot like you they always find survival. Okay. They will always in a mode of survival and more mode of like you can read their history basically. Look how they are in 1770s, the cowboy culture, or like 1600s or 1500s, how they come to this like level of how they are become the best like in army or capitalist country, or how they become such a greatest nation all over like thing. They are portraying themselves as the leader of or pioneer of
Please,
everything.
can you come to the sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt.
they
Can you come to
they
the
have
point
like
because I'm
struggled
not
a
clear
lot
with you.
basically in their like in their because they got as previously someone mentioned, like they got very independence very early, and they like uh, people are coming in a mode where innovation, technological advancements, those things come into existence. Okay.
Yeah, but what is the point you're making? I'm not clear, Hari. Like, what is the
Okay.
underlying point that you're making here? How does it connect to the current debate?
No, like for current debate, we are you are comparing India and US
Which
like
point, which point specifically are you rebutting? That is what I want to understand because I'm not clear of what exact
yeah,
point
the
are you.
mindset, basically the mindset. Okay, the mindset and the education of how the people are thinking. Okay, do you get that point? If you are
So
not
I
If I
getting,
may,
understand that.
yeah,
if I
if
may,
others are getting and you are not getting, I'm not sure how it's
yeah,
going. Yeah,
if I may, then what
yeah.
basically he means is every society goes through a societal evolutionary thing, and since they have got independence a long time ago, according to him, that has led to a greater level of societal evolution in the US. Am I right, Hari?
Yes, and also the mindset makes the thing. Okay, so how they are like taking the like their lives, and their seeing of the world is more like newer or more narrower than like it is more different, I would say. Like it is more different than how an Indian person will see. Okay, we will be having some kind of tradition and superstition or some kind of methodology to go into a thing, but in their fashion there is nothing, only the point A to point B. However you can reach it, but you just go to A to B, that's it, in their fashion. Okay. So yeah, like you wanted to think, you cannot compare them together. That's what I would mean
Actually,
here. Okay.
if you were
Um,
speaking for the last half an hour back that I said, was it the thing? Because the 3 points that I made 5 minutes back was one was pornography issue, one was evolutionary biology, evolutionary psychology, and the third point was the rebuttal to what Prince was saying. And none of these 3 points actually involved USA. So I'm not exactly clear what is the underlying point that you're driving with this.
yeah,
No,
I'll let everyone
I am
speak.
not, yeah, I'm not mentioning you particularly. Okay. Based on overall conversation I saw, like there are more US comparisons. Okay. It is not pointing out you or pointing out anybody. Okay. You can't compare
Yeah,
India with, that's what I'm meaning here. Okay. So yeah.
yeah. So I'll let everyone speak, but just before that, since we are nearing 12:30 and after 12:30 we have unmoderated sessions, so I'll also like everyone to give the conclusions, whatever they assume or they have come to. Now, I won't be a patriarchal despot, and I saw Sanya was raising hand some times ago, so if Vivek don't mind, I'll let Sanya go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so Suryansh, I just want to say that Hari was trying to point out like a point that where I think you were not there at that time. So I think I said up something about that has a pretty conservative society, and they're not as liberal, and they're not as liberal as USA's mindset or like over sex. And I think he was trying to conclude all that. Okay, so coming to the point where you said something about pornography, I completely forgot what you were saying. It was um like all this conversation just made me forget. So I'll just say that banning pornography is not. I think it was not about abstinence, like when you said that. Like what did you say? Wait, let me remember it.
Should I go again repeat, or
Yeah. Can you just
yeah?
like
But do you do you
summarize?
want Vivek to first finish his point and then I come back? Or
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Sanya, yeah, Vivek, please go ahead.
Yeah, so yeah, we are telling we are Indians, so I'd like to bring in a little spiritual
Hmm.
perspective, right? So we need to teach our children meditation, okay, so that they have self-control, and also we need to teach kids how to love their own body, okay, how to be okay with their own body, and things like that, right? Meditation, self-control, and I think that will help a lot. That will help a lot to the kids. Okay. And another point I'd like to make is we were discussing regarding the age, right? Which is the right age to teach children's what, right? So I think young kids who are very small, I think we can teach them about their body, about the anatomy, right? What are the different parts of their body? And especially if I come from spiritual angle, like to love their body, right? We should love our body, right? Our body is pure and things like that. And when they grow up, as you all know, we have to teach them about relationship, how to talk to girls, how to take responsibility, and things like that. So these are my 2 points. Thank you.
Great points. Yeah, Suryansh, you wanted to say something, and also I'll ask you to give the summary of whatever the other speaker is asking.
got it, got it. So quick point to what Sanya was asking. So the I was actually referring to um basically pornography. Banning pornography is something, even though we do that, it doesn't stop the pornography consumption. And I think India is one of, I saw some chart couple of months back. India definitely pretty much tops the chart in the overall pornography consumption. Definitely, it will be the top three. Of course, one is the population, but adjusting for population, also, I believe that we will be topping the charts. And I think one point somebody made it was also in the comments, some supply demand. I don't know, like if there's less number of people and then they'll have to satisfy the needs, is what my sense was. But we can come to that later, something we didn't discuss. But the major point that I was trying to land was that banning pornography isn't something that is actually feasible, right? Having said that, all pornography, in my opinion, isn't bad. But the current way things are, if we are kind of understanding that pornography will not be able to ban, because if you ban something, then kids will definitely find out ways of always accessing it, and that is human nature. That is not necessarily kids to blame, right? Because this is how technology has evolved, and this is like one of the way, like it's human nature, right? At the end, at the end of the day. But how can we stop normalizing things happening in porn? Is what my major point was. There is where the issue lies. And another point to what Prince had said, I believe it should not be have anybody who wants to wants to engage in sex should not. It depends more about their mental maturity rather than their biological age. And one of my hypothesis definitely is that Indian kids mature far later compared to the Western counterpart. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I do agree that banning pornography is not like the end solution, but I think it's still a step forward to the actual solution. Like it's a small step at least, because we already know that like if you I know you must have all been to a pornography site at once, like in your life. So we already know that the kind of content that is getting like shoved down like to us, like it promotes incest, or it promotes violence, and like so many wrong things in it. And I think to it is important to regulate it at least. Like, I'm not saying that porn is banned, like it's bad, but there should be laws around it, and like it should be regulated properly, so that like whenever like a teenager like goes on a porn site, that it's not its first idea of what sex should be like. Like it's not like what he thinks that this is what he needs to do to a girl to please her, and 90% of the time it does not work, like whatever is like shown in porn. And it is also important to understand the kind of bodies that are shown in porn is like completely it is not realistic at all. And it sort of like it sort of gives body dysmorphia to a lot of people as well. They can be ashamed of them, and they can be like really um shy, or like not confident enough to show their body to their partners. So I think there should be like some laws around it, so that they don't fear sex itself. It is natural, and it should be um I think it should be like, okay, I lost my train of thoughts. I think that's it.
Yeah, great points. And just to add, uh, porn is still a very big thing. I've met multiple people in their 20s and a couple of them in their 30s who don't have even a basic differentiation of good touch and bad touch. And these things are the basics. I mean, someone pointed out earlier in the debate that earlier years, what should we do in the earlier years, and whether sex education should be a part of curricula from the earlier years itself. So yes, we should teach them these perspectives about what is good touch and bad touch. But I'll uh, keep that discussion for the moderated session. Before anyone puts their further comments or views, I'll just ask if anyone has any concluding statements to make. You can raise your hand, that is in the reactions button, and then we'll move to the unmoderated session. Yeah, Suryansh, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so just to summarize, we kind of had a discussion overall on, we started off with sex education, what is the scope of it? We discussed very practical things that you can do. How can you have the conversation, and what age we should have the conversation, which was something that is important. Another thing we discussed was some variation between USA and India, and one of the points that Hari also mentioned, that direct comparison is also not correct. We understood things on, like, even contraception versus birth control, versus what difference, like, people even in adulthood, a lot of the times they don't have that understanding that has to be bridged. We discussed what would be the right best modalities that should be tried out, if it is in school time, right? We discussed on pornography, whether we should be banning it, we should, is there some other ways, right? But net takeaway for me has been that, I think one point I found very interesting was something I think Vivek said regarding spirituality and meditation. So I partially agree with that. That also we should bring, so that kids are in tune with their body, and like both physical, mental, and spiritual health. But it should not be coming only from a place of, let's say, because a lot of spiritual practices may actually condone sex and have abstinence of sex is what they'll promote, and that is something that I don't believe, that is an added pressure. Being spiritual doesn't necessarily mean that it is that every spirituality is not correct, which is why I actually vouch for secular spirituality. If that is what we're seeing, then we are on the same page. But yes, so a couple of these things that we discussed in the discussion.
Yeah, great summary indeed. And I guess what he meant was the yoga and stuff like that. And I
No,
do
not
believe
yeah.
there's
Yeah, you
Yeah,
are right. Not the religious one, but the spiritual one. What you are exactly thinking, I'm telling the same actually, Suryansh.
yeah.
Not
Let
suppressing.
Hari
I'm
go ahead
never,
and then
yeah, I'm
I'll let
never,
Hari go
not
ahead.
suppression. Yeah, sure. Sorry.
Yeah, let Hari go ahead and then you can go next. Yeah, Hari.
Okay. Like summarizing to the point, like I would say we have to actually include. There is obviously we already have like sex education system like in 11th and 12th, like for particularly the biology field only, like biology group, I would say. But it should be like we should add it towards prior grades, like above 8th or something, and everybody should be aware of it, what is it, and they should be aware of it, and we should not taboo that topic basically, because somehow they will be going to learn, and it will be somehow they will be using in their life, I would say. And also, like adding to the point what Vivek said, we have to, like as he said, like we have to love our own bodies, and we have to, like everybody should have like good amount of confidence on their body itself. So they should not have any mindset something like that whatever like that person has something that I don't have. So he has a good hairstyle I don't have. He has a good like a body, like a fit body that I don't have. That girl looks very prettier, but I'm not. Like those kind of inferiority things, most of the, like in our society, I can see there is exist, and people are feeling low confident. They are performing low in their like in their career or in their school or whatever. So those kind of mindsets, they should accept themselves, and they should they should proceed to their vision or whatever the goal that they want. And also in the topic of pornography, I would say pornography, you can't put restrictions over there. Okay. For example, if a pornography producer, what is his goal? To make more audience, like more views or something like that. That's the only motto. He will put whatever fascination or fancy stuffs that he can include. Okay, in that. So we can't put like a restriction over there. So, but basically, people should not fall into that thing, like that is a trap, I would say. So people should not fall in that trap, and they will be getting the dopamine hit always in that specific place. Okay, if you are getting too much time, if you are getting a dopamine hit, your your life is done, I would say, basically. So you should get some whenever you are achieving something in your life, that time only you should get some the dopamine hit that will make you motivated. Okay, if you are getting daily hit, then I would say you will feel it pressure, you would feel the top of the world, but you are nowhere. Okay, so I would say, so yeah, these are all the points I would like to mention.
Yeah, yeah, Vivek, you can go ahead, but it would be appreciated if you could keep it a bit crisp. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so what I was saying regarding meditation, loving your own body, right? And stuff like that. So if we see some kids who are naked, we try to shame them, right? But we should not shame them. It's okay to be naked, right? For kids, so that they know they can see their own body and learn to love their body and things like that. So regarding pornography, yeah, for kids, it should definitely be banned. But as a couple, or if you are married, you can watch it once in a while to spice up your relationship, right? And sex education should be there for kids as well as adults, right? We also don't know how to actually do it, right? For example, women can have 9 orgasms, but men can have only one orgasm, right? So even kids should learn. There are things like tantric sex and things like that. So even because most of the marriages are also not happy, right? And the main reason, we all know what is the main reason, right? So all of us are adults here, so I think I can talk openly. Kids should also learn. Obviously, we should teach kids, and we all have discussed, and we all know what we should do and where we should start. We have discussed a lot about it, but I'd like to point out even adults should learn about that. And I also like I'm more interested in spirituality, right? Also psychology. We have spoken about some of the psychological stuff, right? Biology, and then if we are like if kids are not given proper education, how it is harmful psychologically, right? Like childhood trauma, sex is also a trauma, right? It can be a kind of trauma to kids, right? That is another thing. So overall, I think sex is a very important topic, and we should give proper education to kids, and as an adult also, we should learn more about it, try to explore more and learn more about it. That's it from my side.
Yeah, great conclusions. I'm not sure if of the 9 versus 1 orgasm scale, but if it's so, then I would rather want equality from God. Yeah, Sanya, you can go ahead.
Okay, so I had some points to say, but I don't think we have time for that. Even Suryansh has some question. Maybe I'll answer that next time. So concluding I would say that yeah, sex education is important, and I don't think that there is a need for a whole subject over it, but it should be promoted in the form of workshops and in school, and it should not be promoted in the form of abstinence, but we should be taught about how like it actually functions, and we should be there should be a safe space created for us so that we feel comfortable enough to question and question like about sex, and we can understand and get knowledge about contraceptives as well, because
I'm not sure if it's just me, but I'm not able to hear Sanya. Is it just me? Can anyone confirm?
Yeah, Prince, not able to hear.
Sanya, maybe you can. We are not able to hear you. Maybe you can retry. Yeah, so maybe Sanya can rejoin. And now we are entering the unmoderated session. Anyone can talk without raising their hands. The only civic rule is that please don't interrupt each other, and let's try to stay on the topic and not digress much. A little bit is allowed, but not much. Yeah, anyone can go ahead.
So shall I start?
Yeah, anyone can. It's an unmoderated
Okay,
session.
okay, okay. So actually, I was like, I agree with Vivek what he said before. I just want to bring that topic back of the mindset or the India US comparison. So I think everybody learn from um, other who are good or at least better than you, right? And also some contradictory points that pornography should not be restricted or regulated to someone was mentioning that some if a choreographer or the producer is having some fantasy or stuffs, he will go through it, or it is considered as art in modern societies, right? So I don't think that it is a good way, because I was like everybody know that Arjigar Medical College incident, right? So in that the victim was raped because of the person who was watching porn and wanted to like experience it at that time. So I think that regulating it would be a better, it would at least stop other people. Like if you have to go through so many things, like uh, there are so many regulation, TikTok was the most used app in India at first, and now nobody is talking about it. In fact, some people are like trying to download it through VPN and trying to create content just for the monetary purposes, but they are not much active as before, right? So it's slowed down, and now the TikTok influencers are not at all known to us, and we are shifting to other things. So I think that as America is known for its entrepreneur culture, or people are trying different stuff, Like I saw that a recent video that a person was having a was creating a new way of employment, or he had an idea that he will deep fry some chickens, right? I'm not like, this is another debate of vegetarian non vegetarian, but I think that this is a new way to look around things, that people are uh, people will only be able to do that if they get time to think about that. And if you are making it taboo, or like people are talking about it, and uh, in special occasion, or to make somebody laugh, right? Then as you know that if a person is glad, we associate it with Johnny Sins, right? Sometimes it happens, and people are like clapping on the jokes that he creates. So all this only comes, and it actually deviates us from the improvement or development perspective. So I think we should regulate it, or at least this OnlyFans, these things are like we.
Yeah, and maybe we can educate the people, and that is maybe the best way to regulate it. Because a blanket ban, we have seen what has happened with pornography. We have emergence of soft porn, and the porn is almost available through one means or another. You just need to know where to go. So, I mean, the only logical solution to this could be educating the youth so that they have better practices.
Yes, I agree
Yeah,
with Prince. I think we should go at a personal level and educate rather than banning, right? Suppression is always dangerous, right? Banning, suppression, even regarding sex. If we try to keep the kids away from sex or suppress them, try to suppress them, they will do it more. They will be more curious, they will learn about it, what it is, what it is. So porn cannot be banned because we'll find some ways to open and watch it. Even I feel that even Instagram is like porn, right? We keep scrolling reels. Even in Facebook, if you see, there are like some videos which you might have already know, right? Videos that keep
yeah. In
coming up.
fact, Twitter also, X also is like not
Yeah,
stopping
all those are
anything.
soft pornography, right? Like Prince was telling. Instagram, we keep scrolling, we see some girls' videos, girls' photos, or vice versa, right? And we
Yeah,
get quick dopamine hit. And yeah, so we should not ban actually, we
I
should give
think that
like
depends
sex
on an
education.
algorithm rather than like what is it like what Instagram is feeding you. Like if you're constantly watching certain types of video, that is what it's gonna show you. And same with Twitter and same with any other social media. It is at the end your choice, na? Ki like if you want to go to a pornography site and what kind of content that you're taking in.
like Sanya, I want to give you a reference here, that I was searching for a like coding project, right? And YouTube showed me some irrelevant stuff, that bloopers of some teacher Jenny's lecture, if you know. So they come by the algorithm is working by taking the consideration of large part of youth which is watching it at that demography or whatever. But I think it's not always the person's mistake. If, as you know, that some scenarios like Trump is winning, then the algorithm will work according to him, or you know what I'm trying.
That is a news, like you're talking about the Trump winning. That is shown like even on like national TV. Like you can, it's a news that is so it's gonna be everywhere only and for a short time of period. And when you're talking about certain content, like if you see naked girls on Instagram, I think that is your choice. Like if you okay, even if you're saying that like the first time that you open Instagram, like you downloaded it and you made an account and that's when you're seeing it, like you can change your algorithm there and then too. Like if you see my Instagram, like it's full of other stuff. It's mostly memes only. So I think it's mainly choice.
Yeah, it's mainly choice, but it is biology also, right? Algorithm we can control, but our biology we cannot, right? It is for everyone.
Hmm.
So we end up
Yeah.
watching one or two things and it
Hmm.
keeps on suggesting us. So I would call Instagram as a soft porn only for me, but yeah, you can disagree.
I
Okay.
mean, I won't associate that to completely biology. That is our society as well. Yeah. You know how we were brought up socially. I mean, majority of us, I was lucky enough to have some really great female friends, but majority of us don't even have female friends. In the case of females, they don't even have good male friends.
Yeah,
So, you know,
90% of them
this
actually. Yeah.
yeah, so this alienation and silos treatment of men and women create this kind of unnatural desire to know what a woman looks like, or what, not educating them about sex. Actually, kind of they start idealizing sex as some sort of a paranormal incident, or a utopian idea that, you know, sex is just a normal thing. It's not that big of a deal that we need to idolize it that much. And I guess that just comes with education. The more you're aware that it's a normal thing, the more even females will feel safe in our country, because I mean, whatever happens in Instagram is just social media harassment and nothing else.
I have a I have a different POV, Prince, Sanya, Vivek. So I don't know who made the point, but one of the points made was when you increase, like basically correlation of pornography with rape, right? Um, so there are two sides of it. There's also one school of thought, and there's no data, and I don't think we'll ever be able to know for sure. So one school of thought is that because you have porn, then that is how the whatever 1%, 0.5% population which is of that mindset, right? They basically, because porn is there, they are not indulging in those behaviors because they are getting satisfied just by porn. And another school of thought is basically what we are discussing is the desensitization that happens due to porn, right? And I was checking interestingly, if there are some research papers on this, and I could not find anything. And in fact, some Nordic countries, they did some research and it was found that when you actually increased access to porn, it led to slightly decreased sexual violence rates. So I think, but broadly for India and all, I was checking that I found no correlation between porn and rape, because at least that is what the data says. But I do understand, and something that we're discussing, the desensitization, what porn shows and what in reality, especially if it is happening in the in your in when someone is growing up, especially in during from 12 years to 18 years, and for a young boy who has, of course, no understanding about, maybe not even having enough female friends in India. And then he kind of learning about how this is how things work and thinking this is reality, and 7 to 8 years of wiring, 10 years of wiring, and then first sexual encounter that whenever he has, right? That is very dangerous, and something that Sani also mentioned for females, for women, for young girls also, and the issues that it causes on body shaming. And I think this book, I have not read it, something I'm going to read soon, The Anxious Generation, which talks about the really high increased anxiety which has started happening since the last 2 decades. That coincides with when social media also came in, access to a lot of smartphones came in, right? Because body comparisons do come in for women much young, at a much younger age compared to boys. And Indian society definitely has a very high judgment on female body. And I do feel strongly that porn also contributes to this anxiety, right? Having said that, I'll want to uh, counter my own self partially by bringing forward a point that there's a trade-off, right? I think we are talking about the negatives of porn. There are a lot of positives also, and not just porn per se of but what I mean to say is, if you think about sexual liberation, if you think about fantasies, if you think about anything else, it is human nature, and we have to accept it at one level. And if you go back in history also, if and there's one book I just finished yesterday called Early Indians by Tony Joseph, which talks about how Indians came around, like, who were like the top 3 and 4 migrations which happened. It talked about Harappan, and Harappan's civilization was far more sexually open compared to what we have right now in India, right? And same goes with other countries also. Like recently, I'd gone to Europe also a couple of months back, and in Greece, if you find the kind of jokes that they were open with, the kind of society in which they lived in, I'll rather be, that is going to be much more fun place. The question is, how can you practically implement that openness without any exploitation or without the female gender being, treated the way it's treated in, let's say, the current porn. So the way I will kind of approach it, and I don't even have any practical solution, it's just very theoretical in my head. But I'll want a society which is more sexually open, but with not the current ways in which the sexual activity is being represented. I don't know if I'm able to convey the point properly, but that is what my nuanced stance is.
Yeah, I will just add and let others speak. Uh, of course, there's no proof to it because none of us were were available during that time. But there are certain claims that Gurukul system, the ancient system of teaching in the ancient India, they had they had incorporated sex education into its curricula, and we can see the effects of it. That women were holding high positions. There were no discrimination based on sex. Again, I'll reiterate. I'm talking about the ancient India, and women were seen doing jobs such as educating justice and wrestling and uh, wearing pretty modernized clothes and for that time, of course. And we can see that if you incorporate sex education into your education system at young ages, then there's no much discrimination that's faced by both men and women in their lives ahead. And I'm talking about the time when Fahian came and he said that Indian women are so progressive that they are doing wrestling in open streets, while the women in Europe or China were facing witch hunting. So I guess that I don't know if it's a causation thing, but maybe.
Yeah, and the sex is also a natural part of human development, right? We should not taboo it, suppress it, and we should remove the fear and shame that is associated with sex, right? To our kids and also to ourselves.
I think the Gurukul system should be implemented again, like the way you said it, that like they were much more advanced than we are right now. And for a country who's the um for a country who has written the book of sex, Kama Sutra, I think we are pretty conservative as a society, and we should not shy away from talking about sex in general.
Right, but I don't know if the Gurukul are producing those Swamijis, right, who are rapists or good students, because at the end they are also they will also tell you to suppress and do self-control and things like that. So I'm not sure if Gurukul will help in this topic, especially sex,
I have
but I
Gurukuls right now.
spirituality, meditation, all those things Gurukul will teach you.
Sorry, yeah, go on.
Yeah, that was my
I'll
point.
just
Like, yeah, only.
I'll just I'll
Mhm.
just say that you don't need to raise your hand. It's an unmoderated session. You can speak
Okay.
without, of course, interrupting others.
Okay. So on the Gurukul system, one thing which I have heard this argument a lot at a lot of places, and I've read about it also. That a lot of people have fantasized that okay, if we have the Gurukul system kind of thing, then maybe things might be better. The doubt which I want to raise here is to everyone is when you visualize a modern Gurukul system kind of thing, how is it different from the institutions which we have right now, which have hostels and students go live there for years and years, they eat there, they get educated there, they're away from the family. How do you see, like, what else do you want in a Gurukul system? How do you visualize it to be different from what we have in the hostel systems right now?
Okay, so when I said that the Gurukul system should be implemented, I did not mean that like it used to be like way back in the time. It should be the way like in present as well, like sitting on the floor and just teaching about like what they used to teach in the ancient times. Gurukul, like in English, it just means school itself. So I just mean that we should be more progressive in that manner, like how they were, and how they were open about like certain topics where certain topics that we stigmatize right now, and they were so open about like putting sex education in their curriculum itself, and I just meant that it should be done in this time as well.
So when you visualize it, if you see the scenes from mythological movies or TV serials, nowhere in the Gurukul system there is co-education. In the Gurukul system, have you seen guys and girls sitting together in any movies you see, any TV series you saw?
No, I have not seen. Gurukul is all, if it is not co-education, then it is about suppression, right?
Exactly.
That's
Not
a,
allowed to talk to girls and
that's
stuff
a
like that.
debate.
Yeah.
That's a whole another debate in itself. But what I guess she meant was, maybe there are some negatives in their system. There are some negatives in our present systems as well. So what she
Yeah,
meant was, take the good parts of the Gurukul.
You can learn at home the good parts
Yeah,
of
you
Gurukul, right?
summarized my
No
point
need to.
really well, Prince. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but you need not to go to Gurukul to learn the good points of Gurukul. You can, as I was telling earlier, right, teach kids meditation at home and talk about sex also openly. Not openly in the sense according to their age, right? When they are young, we can talk about the anatomy of their body, right? Different parts of their body, right? And all the parts are same, right? Like we should teach them to love their body and stuff like that. And I'd also like to mention one author, Osho. I think all of you have heard about Osho, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
there is a book that Osho has written, From Sex to Super Consciousness. So people only read the first two words, from sex, right? They forget about, he talks in detail. There is no mention about, lot of mention about sex in that book. I've also not read it, but I've listened to some part of the audio of that book. So there is no mention about sex. It is about reaching from sex to super consciousness, right? So he talks about all the things that we already discussed, right? Freedom, not
Docu-series
suppressing.
by Osho.
Pardon?
Have you seen the docu-series by Osho? I think it is Wild Wild Country.
I've not seen the doco series, but if you listen to any of his lecture for 1 hour, right? It is
Do check
completely
out the stuff
opposite
that
to.
he has done and his organization has done.
Uh-huh.
I just recommend, if you have time and all, Wild Wild Country, just watch it once.
Mhm.
And then again we can discuss maybe, because he's a very controversial character.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
I have
if
in
if you minus
Netflix
the
it is right.
controversy, if you
Yeah, I
minus
do
the
understand what you're
controversy,
saying, because
yeah.
the kind of things that he has done as a leader, if uh, I just I don't want to spoil it for you also, because I have read few books from Osho, and I just my personal stance is just my opinion, that if as a leader, if you're having so many things and you're just blind, you just so blindsiding all the things that people under you are doing to such great levels and such criminal levels also, then I don't even kind of recognize whatever worldly wisdom you can impart on books. So that is what I'll kind of put my point
Yeah,
as.
yeah, you have
But
made a very good point actually. Yeah, that is a good point. In fact, a very
Suryansh,
good point.
actually,
Yeah.
here
But,
here
uh-huh.
I would like to contradict, because like
Yeah, I too.
if you are good at mathematics, it's not about like you are getting failed in science subjects. But if people should learn mathematics from you at least, right? Because you are good at it. I know he had done many bad things, right?
No,
But
he
he
has not
should
done the
learn.
bad things, right? People around him have done. In for 2 years, he was in silence mode. He was not speaking at all. He was. It is called a mauna. He was trying a spiritual practice wherein you go into silence and you try to read other people's minds, something like that, right? Not like he was against all this religious dogma and all the things that I was telling, right? So in for the 2 years, he was in silence. And at that time, yeah, I understand Suryan's perspective also. If the leader is not good,
yeah, because point is things
and
were happening.
yeah,
See, one is the Jiddu Krishnamurti, which I really admire from a POV
I
of.
admire him too. Yeah, and
Exactly.
Osho
You
admires
understood the
him
point
too.
that I'm
Yeah,
making. Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I got to know about Jiddu Krishnamurti from Osho actually, right?
Mm.
Osho talks about all those great saints, right? Buddha, Jiddu Krishnamurti. They are in his top list, top four that you
Correct.
have to listen to, right? I would have not got introduced to Jiddu Krishnamurti if I would have not listened to Osho. But if you minus the controversy, I think he has a lot of great ideas and a lot of great things. So you can read this book, From Sex to Super Consciousness. And his Hindi lectures are even better, right? Rather than listening to his English lectures.
So,
Yeah.
I have a question. So, are all the bad deeds, like if a person has done a lot of bad deeds, so are they justified if he has done more good deeds? For example, like if we talk about like this similar Baba called Ram Rahim, like he is inside jail because he raped a few people, like a few women, but like people justify him being a good person because he has a lot of foundations and he's done a lot for people. And so like is that really justified?
No, it is not. Ram Rahim is a bad person, right? I was talking about Osho.
Just to
Yeah,
make
go
sure,
ahead.
I hope everyone is aware that we are recording the sessions and it will go live on YouTube. So let's not digress from the topic and speak on the topic. I know these kind of digressions are important, but yeah, each up to their own. Yeah, you guys can go ahead.
Prince,
I just
can you
wanted
stop the
to.
recording then and can I have an open discussion? Because I don't want recording to be a reason why some people can't have open discussions. This is
No,
exactly what
no,
I like about recordings.
I do understand the concern, but yeah, you guys can definitely have open discussions because I mean we have a limited YouTube capacity, and what I meant was because that person is not here, so let's not outright say someone is bad. That's again just my opinion as a personal capacity. I'm not speaking as the host because, of course, this is an unmoderated session. It's just for the respect of that person. I mean, yeah. That made the whole room silent. Okay, so coming back to the topic, uh, when people talk that there should be no sex education or sex education should be available from, let's say, 15 or 16 years of age, I guess someone said it that after eighth standard, then are we accepting a state where almost all of Indian children, or not almost, all most of the Indian children are uh, facing these kind of sexual harassments, and they are not even aware of simple basic concepts uh, of ideas such as good touch and bad touch.
Right, but we have to, the person who is doing the sexual harassment, right? They are also the culprit, and we need to educate them also, right? Yeah, obviously we have to teach kids about good touch and bad touch, but the people who is doing that, right? The person who is doing that, maybe his childhood was not good, right? And he all the topics that we're discussing about, right? Suppression and all, maybe he was suppressed, and that is why he's touching badly, right? So it at the end, I think I believe that self-education is important, right? Debates like this, more we should do more debates like this, right? I learned a lot from this debate, right? From all of your points, and yeah, and educate people around us, our nephews, kids around us, even adults, right? There are so many things that adults can also learn. So I think we should educate the other person. Obviously, we should teach them good touch, bad touch, all of
Actually, talking about those who are the culprit for this harassment,
Mhm.
I think rather than spending time in teaching them, as I have seen, like from my personal experience, I have seen that they are having a uh, they are having their own mindset. So some people are of this age and they are not worried about anything in their life. They are having one job, and that is also they have made for themselves. And they will look around people and and tease them or do whatever, they scold them. So I think the child that is getting abused, saying again, I'm saying it from my personal experience, that child is thinking that this kind of behavior is normal, or he is getting like again either traumatized or feeling like it's what the bigger older people do, as we should respect them. So rather than spending more time on those people, I think the child should be taken more care of. This again, the talking out this counseling thing should be there. And if the parents are educated, so actually I have seen that the person is educated, the more he will fear from doing any bad thing, because he knows the strict laws, and the judiciary will not let him live for 10 years next, right? So taking that in mind, and also if this happens in rural areas, so that's like a point of education and not having that education. But the child should be first of all taken in the consideration of parents, and parents uh, should only be having a child if they are having that uh, sense of parenting them better, right? उनकी परवरिश पे they should impact. That's my.
Yes, yes, I agree with you. Yeah, that is really required actually. Education to the kids also. They should know what is good touch, what is bad touch, and try to avoid people, right? Rather than respecting them if they are elder. And most of things I heard, I don't know, but things like this happens in our own, like in the families, right? Uncles.
Yes, and Vivek, I think you were saying previously one thing, that
Mm,
children should not be ashamed of like showing, if they are showing their body naked, and they should not be ashamed of that. So I think this is a way we can say, because if you restrict a child from doing something, he will do it deliberately. Then if you say don't write in the wall,
yes,
don't draw in a ball, he will do it deliberately, or not in front of you, he will do in front of others, because he thinks that my mother or father is not allowing me to do this, I will do it in other places. So this point I really like, that children should be love their body, and they should be okay with, like, not every place, but they should be at least having a sense of it, that being naked is not a thing to be ashamed of.
yeah,
Yeah, all are great points, and yeah, of course, there should be no shame of it, and I guess that is what the proponents of sex education actually believe in. So, yeah, that is one of the most important stuff. I guess Suryansh and everybody present has said that there should be a free flowing conversation or dialogue.
yeah. And also regarding dating culture, right? In US, people are more open, and India, we suppress our kids a lot, right? So co-education, talking to girls, like appreciating them if they look good, things like that, right? Small, small things like that. It's okay to appreciate, right? If a girl is beautiful, you can tell that a girl is beautiful in a nice manner and appreciate them
Yeah,
and talk to girls, be open, right? Go to meetups. Otherwise, we'll end up
yeah, actually,
in an arranged marriage
actually,
situation, which is,
I
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
in this, actually, I remember incidents from my childhood that still at this point I feel very awkward while talking to opposite gender because of this. As in childhood, whenever we do like we are talking with our friends a lot, and then teacher used to punish us by sitting you next to a girl. Then you are like, you are not with your friends, and you're not having that those friends which you usually talk, and now a random girl is sitting beside you. Then at that time it was considered as a punishment, rather than having a time to talk with opposite gender, right? So this
Yeah,
still
true.
makes me feel awkward at this time. even though it's like 15
Yeah,
years
same here.
from that.
Yeah, yeah. Same here. I don't know, Prince, you also feel awkward or
Um, I never faced any such situation, but yeah, most of the people actually do.
yeah, it's about I feel it's art. Okay. One thing is art,
Then
which is how to talk to girls. Second thing is exposure. We have to learn also, right? Art of conversation, like how to start the conversation and jump in between. Like if I go to a girl and keep making jokes, right? They will think that what they say funny. Like there's a concept called it, which I have read somewhere, which I'd like to share, Keshav, if you're interested. There is a concept called as risk versus comfort. Okay, so risk is you make jokes, one or two jokes, maybe you can consider that as a risk. And once you make one or two jokes, you bring the conversation back to comfort level, right? Maybe you ask about talk about other things or serious stuff, even in office conversations, right? If I make fun in between a serious conversation, it is not nice, right? So when talking to girls, we need to play between risk and comfort. Risk, like risk is like risky things, right? Making a joke, or not like risky in the sense telling something bad thing, right? So we need to play in between these two lines, risk comfort. If you feel that it is going too much out of the way, bring the conversation back to normal, right? Start asking normal questions about our education, things like that. So this is what I've learned. Maybe you can share or tell your thoughts about this if I'm wrong or
You are, of course, totally right. I mean, each person has their own styles, but the main issue that I think is why do we need to, why should we read, these kind of books when we are 20 or 25 to get to know how to talk to a person from another gender? I mean, these things should be developed in our schools. I mean, what else is the duty of our school if not develop the personality and communication skills of their children?
yeah, but they don't teach this in our schools, right? What I told the risk comfort thing, it is like people know it inherently, but they you also know, right? When you're talking to someone, if I become serious all the time, like I was making some points maybe where I was making points which were so like about sex or something like that, right? Which is risky, right? Kind of risky, orgasm. If I keep talking about that, then it is a risk, right? I'm continuing in that risky path, but I need to bring it back into the comfort level, right? Talk about something else which is more comfortable to the audience. But I don't think in any school, I have like personally, I have not learned about this anywhere, right? I've learned this myself by practicing, observing people like you and other people, right? So I think they teach you normal conversation, but not like things like this, right? And there is one more thing that I learned, right? If you want, I can share. Yes, no, regarding yes, no, right? If you say, I hope you will also not leave the meeting. Are you there?
Yeah, I mean, you can go ahead. You can.
Yeah. I just want to
You can.
hear others' perspective, but everyone dropped off actually. Regarding this risk comfort, right? I'm also trying to learn that concept, risk comfort concept. One more thing that I was trying to learn about saying yes and no, right? So what I have learned is if I say yes to people, people will like me. And if I say no to people, people will respect me. Okay. But because Vivek has said that if you tell yes to people, people will like you. And if you say no to people, people will respect you. But it should come from the point of genuineness, right? You really want to tell yes, you say yes. If you really want to say no, you say no, right? So I am also trying to develop, right, to improve myself and my conversation skills and things like that, right? So I'm playing around these concepts of yes and no, right? People will like me if I say no. If I tell no, people will respect me. And it should come from the point of genuineness. You really want to say yes, you really want to say no, right? Things like that. And this risk comfort model that I spoke about, right? So do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I do have opinions, but I mean, I don't really know because these things are very natural to me. I've never read a book uh, about how to meet people or how to make them our friends or how to talk to people because I actually believe no book can teach me how to talk to people. And
Mhm.
uh, yeah, I guess again, it's a normative statement. I don't have any proofs against it, but this is what are my values, and I also don't have a completely extroverted personality, but I was just kind of pushed into it by both my friends and my family that uh, we had. We had co-ed groups of friends, so I guess that just worked out.
Yeah, that's great. So basically, it is called exposure, right? You keep doing it and you learn it.
Yeah, fake
Yeah,
it till you make it, I guess.
fake it till you make it also. Yeah. But if you know, like, instead of blindly doing things, what I feel is if you know, like, if you, I have also started reading psychology, and I'm interested in spirituality, right? I spoke about Osho and all. So if
Right.
psychology is you, because we are always with people, right, around us, we are going to grow in our career and things like that. So that is why I've started learning psychology. So I know how people behave, why people behave the way they behave, not about others, but why I am behaving the way I am behaving, right? So if I know and if I go into it, learn and go into it, I feel it is better. For you, it is coming naturally, which is very good. But if it comes naturally and if you know this concept, it is even better, right? You will play around with those concepts properly. That is what I feel. But yeah, it's always good to be natural. Yeah. Okay, Prince. Yeah, that's it. Nothing else to discuss. I think it's over time. Sorry for that. Yeah, I maybe went into some other because only you and me were there. Yeah.
No, it's fine. I guess great session, and it has been great. You have been everyone has been a great speaker. Yeah. So that's it for today, I guess.
Thank you, Prince. Have a